Yeah.
We're all good. We need some C4s for this.
Shit, yeah, we need some fucking C4s, bro.
C4 sponsor it. Division's Den.
Nope, because it's done.
I want to give a big shout out to C4 Energy for sponsoring the podcast. They didn't pay us, but we love your drink, so you fucking should sponsor us, you know?
Let's try that again.
I second that.
C4, we love you so much. We would love to feature you guys on the Divij 10 podcast.
Yeah.
Send us over, and we got it.
Just free product. That's all we want. We don't even need
Let's
money.
go, baby.
Dude, if I could drink those instead of water, I would.
Right?
They're so tasty. The cherry one?
Oh, no, it's gas. But I'll be honest, Ghost kind of shits on it, though.
Nah, that's cap.
They got the Swedish fish.
Nah,
They got the
Swedish fish is good. But the problem is with Goes, it makes my head bang if I have too many. That's the problem.
Are we recording?
No, we're
All
rolling.
right, let's go, baby.
All right, yo, we're going to do a quick intro. Episode 60, we should have had confetti for this shit, or like tequila or something. We fucked up. Oh, he has
We
some?
don't drink here.
Yes, we do. We're fucking alcoholics. Yo, welcome back to Divij Den, episode 60. Really crazy that we're still doing this, almost 60 episodes in, brother. It's pretty wild.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
No, we got a special guest today. Actually was one of the previous guests on this show, except we did it on a bed.
At the very beginning.
Yeah, the OG days. Man, great friend of mine. Have the honor of, being this dude's homie. And not only that, watching his progression over the last couple of years has been amazing. So, yeah, man, Ash Miner's in the building. What's up, bro?
Thanks for having me, guys.
All the way from
Land down under.
Australia.
Do people confuse you from being from the UK?
Dude, all the time. But
Yeah.
the thing is, I was actually born in the UK. So,
They're right.
and so I was there till I was 13, and then I moved to Australia in my teens. So I'd say Australia more shaped who I am, but I've gone back and forth to the UK at
Quite a
least
bit.
every 2 years since. I've lived there twice since moving to Australia.
Yeah.
So the accent kind of dips in, dips out. Half my family's still there, so
Sheesh.
yeah. So it is a bit of a hybrid.
Wait, so do you have dual citizenship?
I do, yeah.
Really?
So I've got Australian, I've got British, and my mum's Irish, so I've got an Irish passport too.
What?
I'm rocking
Wow.
3 of those passports.
You're a world traveler.
Yeah.
That's
The Irish one's
awesome.
expired though. I gotta get that shit sorted,
That's
especially
awesome.
now that Brexit's happening.
I have a question though. Like, why were people so sad when the Queen died? Like, is she really like a massive deal?
I
Hell yeah.
mean,
She was a big deal. Yeah, man. She
I
was
mean,
the
she's-
longest,
Yeah, but like, what's the contribution?
monarch
Like,
or whatever.
What's
Like,
her contribution?
she was the queen for she was the queen for like till she like 60 years.
What does that mean though? Like, what is?
Yeah, I
being
don't
the
know. I
Queen?
think
Like, what do
it's-
they do?
it's a divisive opinion about the royal family. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not for or against the royal family. Doesn't bother me. Do I think it's a bit dated, the whole idea of it? Probably. But I think she was a pivotal figure that's been around in most people who are living in the UK, the majority of their lives. Because, I mean, she was made the queen in her 20s
Yeah.
Oh,
and she
really?
died in her 90s.
90s. Yeah.
Long
So
life.
anyone who's 70 years old or younger, pretty much, has had her part of
they
her
love
life,
her,
you know?
man. They love her. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big deal when she died. Remember when Princess Diana died?
No.
Yeah, but she was for the people.
Yeah.
I think she was.
Was the Queen not for the people? Was she like against?
I mean, I don't know, man. There's a lot of controversy. I mean, I've never really indulged in the monarch too much, but from my understanding, Princess Diana was really for the people.
Yeah,
And
but she
there's a lot of-
married into the family. She wasn't royal.
Right. She wasn't OG.
Yeah,
she was like,
she was not.
Yeah, but I think there's some controversy around what the whole situation as well.
Yeah.
But that's probably.
they should make a movie about that.
They have made tons of movies about that, bro.
So okay, so people do mistake you from the UK, but you were born in the UK and then you moved to Australia.
Moved to Australia in my teens, which was different. Like, I mean, coming from the UK, the north of the UK in particular, people talk about London. When people snapshot the UK, they think about London, right? They think about Big Ben, London Eye,
Yeah.
all this stuff, street culture, whatever. There's a whole flip side to that coin, and that's the north of the UK. And even culturally, it's so different. So I grew up about 40 minutes from Manchester, a town called Darwin, which
Was it named after like D. Darwin? Like
no, I don't think so. It was a cotton town.
oh okay.
It was a cotton town. So there was this place called India Mill, which is a massive exporter of cotton. So it was a really thriving place in, I don't know, maybe the 50s. I don't know when it was booming. But once they closed down the cotton mills, it's like one of those places that has a really aging population. So the town just gets older and older and older. The kids move out, go places to go to university, all this kind of stuff. And it's just like you go there, there's not much happening. Every single time I go there, it's like the average age has increased by like 5 years.
Holy shit.
You know what I mean?
Just
So
old people.
just older. And most people are trying to, you know, like, I don't know, progress, move out. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it was a bit rough and ready. I mean, especially with my heritage and stuff, it was very racist. So moving to Australia, which was very different. Like, I mean, we're going from it being this dingy, kind of shitty little town. No offense to anyone who's still there.
Is it the hood out there? Like, is it like sketchy?
It's you know what? It's kind of hard to say. I mean, when you're growing up, it's just all you know, right? Was it rough? Like, yeah, for sure. Like when we were young, I always remember we woke up one morning, there were swastikas sprayed all over our fence. Wow. Our shit got kicked in. There used to be a lot of skinheads and white supremacists that were there in our part of town. We were the only kind of like ethnics that were there. So there was we faced a bit of hate crime when we were growing up. But I mean, when you're a kid, it's just like, is what it is, right?
Right.
What are you, like, ethnicity wise?
Yeah, so my father's from Pakistan and my mum's Irish.
Okay.
Crazy.
So yeah, kind of fell in between, which
Yeah.
in Australia, you see, I was very ethnically ambiguous because there's a lot of Lebanese, a lot of Greeks, a lot of Italians.
Yeah.
And then you've also got a lot of Pakistanis and Indians and stuff. In the UK, it's kind of like, okay, if you're brown, you know, racially they say, oh, you're a Paki, which is like the race. It's such a racist term for Pakistani, right?
Yeah.
That's as racist as it goes. Like, shit used to boil my blood when I was younger. So you just automatically a Paki. You kind of pigeonholed it into this category. It's different in London. It's a lot more multicultural. It's a lot more open, diverse in so many ways.
Yeah.
Whereas up north, back in the 90s, there was like a lot of problems, social problems. This thing called Paki bashing was going on.
What is that?
It was like skinheads would like just beat the shit out of Indians and Pakistanis, and there's like
Jesus
hold them at
Christ.
gunpoint, a lot of hate crime, just a lot of hate crime, man.
That's why we keep that woo-wop.
The glizzy. That
yeah.
glizzy.
So I mean, but thankfully now it's not like that anymore. But the
That's good.
racism shifts though, man. Like,
Right.
it's bad. Like now, you know, Indians and Pakistanis are very ingrained into Northern culture, but now there's a lot of racism towards like the Polish and people from Eastern Europe who are coming over as well. And it, you know, so the racism never goes away; it just shifts hands. You know, which
Yeah.
is bad.
Yeah.
But that's
Did you guys see that I think it was the Prime Minister of Britain is Indian? It's an Indian guy. Which
I
is,
heard some of that,
which is
yeah.
crazy because
Like the
Britain
fifth prime
used to-
minister in like 2 months.
Well, yeah, he's probably going to be out of here pretty soon. But no, it's crazy because Britain like controlled India at one point. So like to see that, you know, like that to me was crazy.
Well, I mean, the mayor of London is Pakistani as well.
Really?
Yeah, so
We're
it's
taking
like
over.
you know there is definitely a shift in the UK.
Yeah.
And the UK is very culturally sensitive and politically correct in a lot of ways. But you know you go to the pockets of anywhere. It's like LA is super liberal, and then you go out 2 hours into the desert. And there's probably some little town where you know people are.
There is. What is that town where there's like no
Salton
laws?
Sea. Salton Sea. It's near it's almost like on the way down to San Diego. It's like the lawless town. Salton
Yeah.
Sea used to be like a really salty lake that kind of dried up, and it's just a bunch of fucking like lawless people, just a bunch of people that don't live on the outskirts, fringes of society.
In trailers and shit, or in houses.
It's like trailer houses.
They build their own little setup, but it's actually not lawless. Actually, the laws still apply there, but people don't actually follow any laws. But like they have their own governing laws. Like if you go and hurt someone, obiously that's
do
not
their own
cool or
stuff.
something.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's places like that in Australia. I was literally there before I flew. There's a place called Nimbin, before weed was decriminalized, it was the only place in Australia which you could actually get medicinal weed and stuff like that. And they have their own town hall and they make their own rules and all this kind of wild shit.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, they make their own
So
rules. Yeah,
Police just don't intervene. You're like, damn, okay. What's going
Right.
on?
yeah.
That's one thing I've learned about kind of both of you guys, like being friends with y'all, is like you guys are both very like outdoorsy? Like I feel like you both would do really well.
We were talking
in
about
town.
that. We were just talking about that. Like when we were in the hills, it's just like, yo, the mountains is like a spiritual place for me. It's like where
Right.
it can be go pure, and like that's where like when we were getting too faded up in the hill, it's just like, well, we didn't get to enjoy the peaceful
the actual-
mountain.
Yeah, to me, the
like,
mountains are so spiritual,
Yeah.
bro. Like,
yeah, it was cool.
there's
like,
nowhere where I get as much clarity as up in the mountains, dude.
It's
that's
so
how I
true.
feel too. That's how I
Yeah,
feel,
man.
too.
American landscape is beautiful.
That's why I got all butt hurt.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you, man. I mean, to be fair, like,
Are we talking about the AirPods right now?
no.
No.
Straight about the.
No, I'm talking.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
talking.
All right.
I wanted to go ride and like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and I didn't really get that, and I got sad.
For those of you guys listening, we went to Big Bear this last weekend, and we had a great time. We didn't get there till late, and we'll go back. We'll
We'll
have
go
a better
back for
sense.
sure.
Go back.
But
Yeah.
that's one thing I really try to do whenever I get to America is try to get out there, because in Australia we've got beautiful landscape, but around the country it's all quite similar. One thing I love about here is the diversity of the landscape in America. I just think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like how you can go down like south and you're in the desert, or east and you're in the desert, then you go to Big Bear and you're in the mountains, then you go north and you're in the forest, and it's
Yeah.
just like, dude, it's like to be able to have that at your fingertips,
You like camping?
dude. I like anything outdoors.
Me and you.
We gotta go. Okay, let's go after
this
this.
This guy, he's like glamping. Like,
Bro.
oh, we need to have like fucking 6G Wi-Fi. And
Oh, that's the old div, man. I like camping.
okay,
like
we'll
it.
see about that.
Well, so for those of you guys who don't know what Ash, like who he is or what he does, obviously you've been making music for the last
Yeah.
decade?
Yeah, pretty
More
much.
than a decade?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
I was looking at your YouTube before this, and you posted videos like almost 8-9 years ago.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah, my music journey started young. I started mainly as a guitar player, and my dream when I was young was to be a famous guitar player, and that kind of started because when we moved from the UK to Australia, dude, I got made fun of so much because my accent didn't necessarily fit in. So I used to come home every day and just sit with the guitar. I used to just love playing the guitar, and I used to spend every lunchtime at school just playing guitar. And I just fell in love with the instrument. Taught myself how to play it. I don't read music or anything. Everything was taught by ear. I used to go home and I used to put a bandana over my eyes, and then I used to run scales up and down the neck.
shit.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I would loved like Santana, Jimi Hendrix, all these kind of cats. And my sister, who lives in the UK, she used to sing, and I used to play the guitar for her. When she was 18, she moved back to the UK because she's an actress. She does a lot of theatre as well in the UK. And we used to write songs together, and we used to do all this stuff. And she left, and I was like, well, fuck, like
Oh shit.
I've got no one to sing these songs with. So I kind of gradually kind of built up the confidence and started singing when I was 18.
18?
Yeah.
That's not even that long ago.
No, I mean,
Wow.
I'm 28 now, so 10 years.
Yeah, wow.
And then, dude, I just loved it. I just loved
Yeah.
it. And first, it was just like a job. Like, I always had a bit of a problem with authority. I hated, like, I couldn't hold down jobs and shit.
Don't we all?
Dude,
Don't we
I
all?
found it hard to go, like, do jobs because I was, like, working as, like, I was doing labor work. I was doing all this kind of stuff. University wasn't for me.
Did you quit? You dropped out of school, or did you?
No, I finished high school and I
finished.
didn't. And I tried to go to university or college, whatever you guys call it. And dude, I lasted like a month, and I was
It
like,
just wasn't
I
for you.
can't.
Yeah.
This is not for me. Like, so I was like, okay, cool. Well, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna need to find a way to make money. And in my town, or in my city, Brisbane, there was a real budding like live music scene. Not a lot of opportunity for original music, but there was opportunity to make money. So I started singing and basically booking myself around the city. So I was playing like 4 hours every single night in different venues.
Wow.
So I was like 18, just stacking some cheese.
I gotta ask though, because that's interesting, right? Like, as someone who also makes music, one thing that I'm focused on is getting shows, right? So like at that point, were you just like walking into venues, being like, "Yo, I make music, can I perform?" Or like, what was the approach?
Yeah, it was a couple of things. So there used to be live jam nights going on, like R&B soul jam nights. And like, bro, let me tell you, like, I was underwhelming, man. Like, I was a quite a proficient guitar player, but vocally, I didn't have the chops compared to these guys. I just kind of made this decision. But one thing I've always been blessed with is confidence.
Yeah.
I just didn't give a fuck. I was like, whatever, like, Mike, I'll get on it. Even if I was playing 5 notes, I'll get on it. I'll just do it. I didn't care. And I started building relationships with the older musicians in the city that used to run these jam nights. And then when anyone would say they needed a replacement or what anyone, I would just put my hand up straight away. Yeah, I'll do it. I remember I was putting my hand up for 4-hour gigs and I knew like 12 songs. And I was like, well, fuck, I'm going to have to like make these 12 songs last. You know what I mean? So that, and then what ended up doing is forcing me to get better.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard. We all know in our craft, it's like, you know, as an adult, when you've got responsibilities and bills and all this kind of shit, to sit down in a day and dedicate yourself to your craft, just you and yourself, and to get better, it's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
So I was like,
there's so much noise. Like,
dude, yeah. So
yeah.
I was like, wow, one thing that I took this shit as if I was like, the more gigs I can get, I'm like getting paid to practice. So I bought a loop pedal and I started fucking around with looping. And I started basically putting chords down, experimenting with different things. And then it's like, running scales over thing and practicing my scales and practicing my vocals and practicing this and practicing that. And people liked it. People liked it. I mean, I look back at it now and I'm like, damn, that shit wasn't even very good. But I was early on the looping thing. I had this really comprehensive looping setup that I built. And at the time, now everyone loops, but back then no one was looping. So I had to work it out myself. There wasn't really the kind of knowledge out there to, how do you do this? How do you do that? I just was patching shit together and piecing pedals together and trying to work it all out. And then one thing led to another, and I just started getting booked.
Wow.
But that came from playing shit venues, bro. Like I'm talking, bro, I was playing, man, there was venues that I would play where I'd be singing and people would be slapping each other in the face and spilling beer over my equipment.
Shit.
And I'm like
they're not really paying attention.
no one
Probably
paid, bro, no one paid attention.
Yeah.
No one paid attention. If I went back now, they still weren't paying attention. They're not there for the music. They're there to get pissed.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was kind of like, look, I'm getting paid to practice. And
Interesting.
That's kind of how we run the pod.
Yeah. Well, we don't get paid. To
We don't get paid, but we're practicing every time we do this.
Are you crying?
I yawned.
Oh.
I thought my story was
like,
pretty
I
good.
didn't
The story really
So,
going,
yeah.
going, guys. It just hits the heartstring. No, no.
That's so interesting though. So like, I gotta ask too, because you're obviously a really great singer, and we'll talk about the show that you did and your music career and shit. But like, when you first sang, like that first day when maybe your sister wasn't there and you started, were you good or was it like, I'm kind of shitty, but I need to practice? Like, how was it natural?
Well, this thing was weird. I always knew I had a voice inside me, which is a weird thing to kind of explain to people.
Yeah.
I've always had a keen ear. Like I taught myself how to play, so I knew if I was singing out of tune. I think a lot of people can't tell if they're singing out of tune. So that is a hard hurdle that I never had to try to get over. But one thing was, I knew when something sounded good and when something sounded bad. So I was very critical on myself, and that pushed me to get better. But yeah, I started singing. I was in this like music room in my school, and I had the acoustic guitar, and I was starting to write songs, and the songs were terrible. We were like super corny, like, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I mean, I never really cared like what people thought. I mean, people always received me very well, and I think they received well that I was willing to work and willing to learn. Like, I walk into every situation never thinking I'm the best in the room. Like, I walk into every situation being like, okay, what can I learn from other artists here? And there were so many of those musicians that were on the circuit that I would just go and listen to when I'd go out. And because I was like, had a fake ID and I was going into clubs at 15 as a guitar player, just like listening to these old guys play jazz and play blues. But what really kind of made me excel as a vocalist, I believe, was when I got booked to go live in Dubai for a while.
Oh, wow.
So from playing these shitty venues, I ended up teeing up and becoming quite good friends with a booking agency in my city, and they got offered a contract in the Palm in Dubai. I'm talking like treated like a king, like
Yeah.
oceanfront apartment. All I want to eat, drink, whatever. All I had to do was play for 3 hours every single night in the same venue, and just try to be good.
Sure.
So when I booked that, and I was paid really well too, when I booked that, I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to worry about packing up and packing down. I left my shit in the same spot every day, set up, and I just refined my craft. I refined it. I sat there and
All you had to do was like show up and do your thing. You didn't have to worry about any other
nothing.
bullshit.
Everything was covered. There was all the stresses of life were taken away, and I could really deal with just trying to be a good musician. And I had my own fuck ups over there too, man. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
put a 21-year-old in the middle of Dubai and give him unlimited cash and see what happens. Like, fuck. You know what I mean? It's, shit
Jeez.
happens. But
And where was your family at this time, right? Because I feel like for me, I went to USC and I couldn't really get around the college thing, even though I wanted to, because my dad and my mom wanted me to finish. So like, were your parents supportive of you doing all this shit, or was it more like, fuck y'all, mom and dad, I'm out? Like,
Oh, it's weird, bro. It's kind of like I've been very blessed in terms of my family is musical, so they understand the pull of music for us. It's so much more deeper for me than just playing music. I feel a real spiritual connection to music, and I think that comes from my Irish side. Music is so deeply ingrained on the Irish side of my family. My mum plays, my grandfather plays. No one reads music. Everyone is all ear trained.
you naturally get it.
Naturally, like our whole family. You go to Ireland to my family house. Everyone plays. We sit there and we jam. That's how it goes.
Have you looked into how far that goes back? Like, do you know if your grandparents maybe were musicians?
Yeah. My grandfather played the piano accordion, taught by ear. Our whole lineage played
So it's
music.
in your blood.
Yeah,
basically.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
So they knew the pool. I don't think when they got me a guitar, well, it was my dad's guitar that I was using. I don't think they ever thought when they kind of gave me the gift of music that it would turn into my life. And I think that's always a worry when a parent looks at the child and is like, damn, my kid wants to do this career where if you look from the outset, it's like drug, sex, and rock and roll, right? Like no parent wants that for the 18-year-old kid,
not.
Right.
especially when that's all an 18-year-old kid wants. You know what I mean? It's like, that's all you think about is like busting a nut and having a good time. Like, So they were supportive. I think they were disappointed when I decided to leave uni because, bro, like I was doing like exercise physiology. It was like chemistry and biology and shit, and I just hated it. Bro,
You're learning about like bones and shit in the body. Like,
it was like everything. It was about like, it was just, I think I had a dream to maybe do that and one day like transition into medicine or something. Like, 'cause I did all right in school. But I was kidding myself, dude. Like this wasn't, it was me trying to pull chess moves and be like, oh, I want to do this because I want to be the smartest guy in the room. Like,
Yeah.
I think your family, as long as you're happy, like truly happy, I think they'll support you no matter what. Like I feel like any parent that loves their kids, like, and it's kind of their fault they put music into you. Like,
well, I think it's equally as much as the kid's responsibility to show that they can make a living out of it. Like for me, I wasn't just like, yo, I want to do music and I was sitting at home smoking weed. I said I want to do music, and then I'd smoke the weed, then go out and get gigs. You know what I mean? Like I was booked 7 days a week, so I was 18-year-old making a couple grand a week from playing. Even if they're shitty shows, like I was making more than the average wage for someone who was maybe done their degree and is in more of a
finance,
like a more niche field.
Yeah.
So I turned it into a business before I even was like, look, I'm gonna now like flee the nest and take this to the next level.
It sounds like you made a illogical choice logically, if that makes sense.
Totally, and I think if you want someone to believe in something, you've got to act. Like it's so easy for people to be like, I want to do this and I want to do that, and then it's like but the actions don't correlate with the words. Like I'm a big believer in actions. I don't believe what no one says to me. It's like, and so I think I proved that to my family, and especially when I was getting opportunities here in America, in the UK, all over the world. Really, I played in so many countries. It was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is he can take care of himself.
Like you could really do it, and you built that confidence.
Can I ask you a question? What's
No, you can't.
May I? Where do you see yourself like I'm gonna say 2 years from now and then 5 years from now?
That's an interesting question because I used to always say, yo, and this time I used to put very rigid time frames on where I used to see myself until COVID. Because in COVID, I lost everything. Financially, career-wise, opportunity-wise, and I had to leave the country, right? So now, as much as I'd love to say in 2 years, I see myself at this next level of my career, whatever, all I want to do in 2 years is be doing what I'm doing in a happier place, more fulfilled, closer with my family, my relationships with my friends, with my family, with my loved ones be more meaningful. And to have more balance as an artist. I definitely for a long time at the beginning of what I was doing, maybe it's immaturity. I definitely prioritized my career over the people in my life. Like it was everything. It was like, okay, this is what I'm doing.
That's
fall in line.
Yeah.
Fall in line, right?
We've had this conversation too. Me and you. You're just like, yo, relationship is is the most valuable form of currency that we have.
More than money will ever
More
be.
than money, more
Yeah.
than anything. Is
More than
relationships.
anything.
Yeah. So
'Cause,
it's like,
dude, it's embarrassing to say, dude, but it's like, yo, I reckon before COVID, if someone offered me, you know, the ultimatum of to be able to pursue your dreams in exchange for like mine, the time with my family, I would have taken it. Now there's no fucking way. Like after COVID, I went home. I'm on a visa here, right? So I'm on an O1 visa, which is a visa the US government gives to musicians and artists if they reach a certain standard in their career, so to speak. So you have to justify that through media reports and certain accolades and all this kind of stuff. So it's very difficult to get. It's very expensive to get, and it takes like my submission was like 150 pages.
Oh wow.
So
what?
what happened was when COVID hit, everyone thought it was going to be like a couple months, right? So I was like, okay, cool. It's a scary time. I want to go home and be with my family. I went home. They closed the borders. They closed immigration. My papers expired.
Fuck. So you were stuck.
Bro, so I was completely
Whoa.
stuck. And as you can imagine, it's like I've left the country. I've built everything up here. Like we're on the verge of a new deal, and we've got all this stuff happening. A brand new album I spent 2 years making that was supposed to be signed to a label. Everything gets pulled. I'm stuck in Australia in the town that I grew up in with nothing there. Fuck all money really, because everything was being banked on creating this music for the payoff at the end. And I was forced to not only stay there, but I couldn't run away from all the shit I was running from in Australia, which was like fractured relationships with my family, knowing that I hadn't diversified what I was doing whatsoever, and all my eggs were in one basket, which is super easy to like do, and then just pretend that nothing can ever go wrong, right? And like me flexing, being like, I'm good, I got this, I know what I'm doing, I've got this, this, and this. But the fact is, like, no one knows what's around the corner.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like so to your question, it's like, how do you predict what 2 years is going to be when
Dude.
literally like your whole thing got stripped from you? Like you couldn't.
Strip, man.
Yeah.
Like I had to face, like I reckon and I'd just gone through a bad breakup. So I was like at rock bottom. I was like, shit, I got nothing. Like, I'm like, what do I do? And it forced me to really have to, rebuild those relationships. Like, for example, my youngest brother, I left when he was like 12. He was a boy. I come back and he's a
man.
grand.
He got facial hair.
He's got a beard. He's a grown man. He's
Jesus
got a
Christ.
missus. He's living on it. Like the fuck, I missed out on those years because I was out doing my thing, and there was a really profound sense of guilt that I was like, damn, like what's real? It sounds so existential, but it's like, what's worth it? You know what I mean?
Opportunity cost, like maybe not losing, but like the fractured relationship, like you said, worth maybe the 5 years of. Well, was it? I'm curious.
Dude, definitely not. Because one thing I realized, as soon as I dealt with all the personal shit that I was hiding, everything flourished.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, it was like I was running with like one of those parachute vests on, dude, where you're like sprinting and it's like holding you back because you can try and pretend like it don't matter.
Yeah.
But in your back of your mind, like all that shit weighs heavy on you, especially if you're like an empath or you are a sensitive person, which I am. And I was just digging my head in the sand. And as soon as I fixed those things, I addressed the things I needed to, I let go of certain things and, started looking at life through a different lens as opposed to, oh, well, I lost everything. I fucked up. Like, fuck this. It's everyone else's fault. Me going, dude, like I take complete accountability for every bad decision I made. I make complete accountability for everything I fucked up, every opportunity I lost. If I actually break down the chain, it all lies with me.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
I had one of
True
those
that.
revelations recently. I think Divij had been through it too with me. It's like you really just gotta look at your own life and like really take extreme accountability and be like, yo, anything that went wrong is like is you can blame everyone else or you can look at yourself and be like, yo, this is you gotta fix yourself first, So
100. I remember there was this crazy situation like when I had my first little bit of a boost in Los Angeles, which was 2018, I kind of had a bit of a management fallout and it kind of pinned me into a contract I couldn't move. And for so long, I blamed all the things that were coming my way that I couldn't capitalize on because of being stuck in this contract.
yeah.
And it took me having to look at myself in the mirror and say, I've signed that fucking thing.
Yeah.
Bro, the chain reaction started with me.
Nobody signed it.
No one signed it for me.
Yeah.
Like I was the one who didn't cruise that shit properly and like got myself locked in. It's like no one, and so many people, I think especially in this city, everyone's got a sob story about why they haven't made it. Dude, like sometimes you're just gonna be like, okay, cool, maybe it's because of me. and even to the things that you don't think are because of you, they're always because of you. Because you put yourself. I go out at the end of the day. I go crash my car. Yeah, someone crashed into me. I was in the fucking car too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I had to take that stance on a lot of things, and that was very like freeing for me, dude.
Yeah.
It's super freeing for me.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I think the one thing that I've realized is like having perspective, right? Like you just said, a lot of people have a sob story about being here and not making it, where it's like the other side of the coin is you're in LA, you have the life that you have here, right? Like we're so blessed to even be sitting in these fucking chairs right now,
Dude,
which is crazy.
So much.
So
man.
it's like we've already made it. The fact that we're able to play this game called music or life or work or whatever is like, it should be a pleasure for us, like, you know? So, but it's hard to remind yourself.
Pleasurable grind.
Yeah, and it's hard. I feel like it's hard to remind yourself that, like,
Yeah.
day to day. But at the end of the day, it's like that's what it is. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I realized a long time ago that I take a lot more pleasure in the grind and the journey than the destination. Because I'm very bad at being present.
That's what people tell. Yeah.
Dude, and when I get to that destination, it's never what you think it is. And someone like extremely successful in this industry said that to me. They said, dude, when you get to where you want to go, just understand, one, it's not going to make you happy. And two, it's not going to be what you think it is. So sort out that shit before you get there, because or else you're going to be disappointed. Bro. So find your happiness now, find pleasure in what you're doing, because there's no like magic switch when you hit a certain milestone or you get a certain accolade that actually fixes that.
there's no happiness switch that just like clicks on once you've hit X.
And because we don't realize as well, I think people see success as like a black and white thing. Life's a gradient. Like we're already halfway to our success. It's not we're going to get there and it's going to be this euphoric like boof of like success. It's like you might get an extra 2% because by the time you get to that point where you tip the scales, you're already 98% there. So if you're looking for this like sense of joy and all this kind of stuff, it's like I don't think that comes. You've got to be happy with the way up. You know?
Yep. That's
Real
deep,
talk,
bro.
brother.
We're getting deep.
Yeah.
That was deep,
Do you have some water, by the way? Can I sip on
We need some. You got any water back there, brother?
Ain't no water, dude. For the thirst.
Engineers. I think he's.
I think we might have to sip out of that plant. Bear Grill style.
We don't get
Bear Grylls
Oh, I
style.
see wine bottles. You want to grab one of those?
Nah,
Tequilas?
actually, no thanks.
You gotta drink your spit, bro.
Oh man, I
Nah.
have to go survival style.
I'm gonna get on DoorDash while we're doing the
Oh
podcast.
shit.
Yeah.
So, I want to kind of move back a little because a lot of people probably do know who you are, what you've accomplished, what you've done. But I want to talk about the 4 because I feel like that is obviously a big piece of your career, at least maybe for the public knowing who you are.
Yeah.
So, how did you get on the 4? What is it like? How was that journey for you?
Dude, the journey of the 4 is interesting, man. I mean, like for me,
Hold on. For someone, I don't know what the 4 is.
okay, cool. So
Can we start,
the 4 is back in 2018. It was a show produced by Divij.
Oh.
And it was effectively a challenge show where they have 4 artists, which they believe are like upcoming artists in the scene that are like, it wasn't really catered to people who were just kind of starting. It was like, okay, these are 4 artists that are like kind of on their grind. They're like well on their way. And then basically artists come in. If they get the yes from the judges, they get to pick which one of the 4 to challenge. And it's kind of like a process of elimination, like a revolving door. So I myself had never heard of it either. It was something that I believe was a concept that was being, it was already active in Europe, I think. I think in Germany, I think they'd done something with it. And then Divij brought it here. And yeah, dude, I mean, I ended up on that show somehow. I mean, like when it happened, I just moved to LA. Like I'm talking literally, I think I was here for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
But all I knew so slightly before that, I moved to LA with like no money. Like I moved to LA with like, I think $2.5 grand in my pocket, Australian, which is like 1,500 US. And I'd like paid my rent down like 6 months because I couldn't get a lease because I didn't have a credit history or anything. I had no fucking money. I was like, I just got to work this shit out. And I used that money. I was like, okay, I got like $1,500 I'm using this like a sand timer. It's like a metaphoric sand timer. I've got this long to work something out or else I'm fucked. Like, so this was like my go. So what I started doing was, all I know how to do is sing and play. So I'd done a couple of trips out to LA previously. So I knew there was a couple of hotspot venues where people used to play music. So I just used to roll up with my guitar. And I just used to be like, can I sing or can I play or can I do this? Can I do that? got some no's, got some yeses. One night in particular, I went to this venue. It's closed down now. I think it's called the Zen Lounge. It was in Studio City.
Oh, okay.
It was a cool ass venue.
Yeah.
It used to be really dope. A lot of really cool industry cats and stuff were in there. And I rolled up with my guitar, and I was with a friend, and she was asking them if I could sing. She was like a bit of a manager or something, and they were like, kind of like saying no. Then they were trying to bill me like to play. Like they wanted to be like, okay, cool, we'll pay us and you can play. So I'm like, fuck it, all right. So I went to the ATM and got out $30, and I was like, all right, can I play? They let me on stage.
Wow, for $30?
Yeah, they let me on stage. They said, you can do one song. They put me on last, so you can do one song. So I did the song, and some of Diddy's representatives were in the crowd.
Wow.
And they come up to me afterwards and said, hey, like, we're doing this show before. Are you interested in doing it? And I kind of spoke to them, but I was kind of like, not really. I worked really, really hard to get to America. I sacrificed a lot. I mean, I'd left my contract in Dubai and like all this lush lifestyle that I had to come out to the street and grind here. So I wasn't really too into the whole idea of being locked into a box and being told what to do. And my first imprint on the industry in America being dictated to by a whole heap of people who don't even know who I am, which is so easy to happen on TV. Someone can be like, they can paint you whichever way they want to paint you. They can make you look however you want to look. And that's a real big risk you run. So I was kind of like, not really. I'm not really down. They came back a couple of times and asked me again. I kept declining it. And then they were like, look, can you just submit? And I was like, okay, whatever. And then then they were like, then they called me again and were like, yo, can you come in person and see us? And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Halfway through that process, I was like, I called them and said, hey, I crashed my car. I can't get there. I was just talking complete shit.
Was that bullshit? Oh, you were kidding.
Yeah, I just didn't want to do it, bro.
Did you know what it was though? Like, did you know this was Diddy's?
Yeah, I knew it was a TV show, bro. And I know what TV shows are like. And that's no shade because like, mad love to all the producers, the executive producer. Well, we'll get into that in a second. But basically, what ended up happening is I had some people kind of representing me at the time, and they basically got the contract and said, look, we're crossing off this, and this. He doesn't want to be locked in this contract. You're either going to come back and let him be who he wants to be and do what he wants to do, where he can basically walk in any time, or else he's not going on the show. So I was kind of like, damn, this is wild. Like,
this was your lawyer probably at the time.
No, this was like a
agent.
acting manager, an acting manager that was kind of just, we were kind of just working with a little bit. So I was kind of like, fuck, if they come back and sign this,
then you have to go.
This is wild as fuck. Like I got no problem going because that means I'm completely free. So, but I didn't think they were ever going to sign it. They went quiet for like 3 weeks. Then they called us back being like, yeah, cool. What else do you want?
Wow.
And then they all said, okay, we want it to be part of the first four. So we kind of just dictated all our terms, went on there. And I wasn't really contractually obligated to anything. I kind of was in a situation where I could do my thing. And it was great. It was great because I wasn't going into it with any apprehension. And I built a really great relationship with the executive producer, guy called David Friedman. He was fucking cool as. He showed me a lot of respect. The musicians, they had iconic music producers and musicians and people involved in that show. Like it was amazing. Like the A&Rs, everyone that came through because of Diddy has such a profound pull. Yeah, man, like it was crazy. Like I met some incredible people and it really set me up for what I was doing. Didn't win.
Got close though.
Got close. A couple of good performances that really stuck online. And yeah, opened a hell of a lot of doors for me. And I think, even though I didn't end up working out with that management, I was blessed that they kind of went there and we said, look, he's going to do his own thing because it meant that I could come off the road and play shows straight away. It meant that I could do what I needed to do and wasn't in fear of being like, okay, well, you got to sing this or else you're fucked. Well, I'm not contractually bound. I can sing what I want. And there was actually an occasion where they were trying to push me into a box to sing really R&B stuff. And I'm like, well, to a non-musician, R&B and soul are the same, but to the musician, they're very different. Right. So I managed to defend my corner and sing the song I wanted to do, which was Adorn by Miguel. Oh, really? Which really set up so much for me. So that was the story of the four, and that led on to a whole heap of wild shit that happened in the years to come, to be honest. Yeah.
So it sounds like, because I've been on a TV show too, right? And I think I had this crazy expectation for F-Boy Island where I was like, I'm gonna come off this show, I'm gonna be a fucking star, I'm gonna be popping bottles, fucking bitches. Like it happened for maybe a week, and then it starts to trickle down. Mm-hmm. So especially because the show really wasn't that successful. But with your show, like, did you feel when you came off a certain level of like stardom, or that you're like, yo, I'm somebody now? Like, did you have that?
Yeah, it was weird, right? Because bro, I gained like 150,000 followers overnight.
Is that how you got verified?
Yeah, I got verified everything overnight
okay,
because my shit kind of like blew online. A whole heap of blogs picked it up. YouTube went crazy. Shit kind of went wild. But for me, like, I think when I was younger, it was like, yo, I want fame, I want women, I want this, I want that. It wasn't like that at all for me. I wanted respect. I wanted people to be like, this guy's a badass player. He's a badass vocalist, because that's what I worked towards for ages. Like, I was getting chicks when I couldn't sing, so that wasn't really it. Not in a conceited way, but I mean, like, everyone get, when you're young, that's all you care about. Everyone's getting chicks, like whatever. Like, that's not a fucking flex. Like, you know what I mean? And so it was like, I wanted respect from like players. I wanted respect from people that doubted me. I wanted people to fucking see me back in Australia who wouldn't put me on stage and be like, I fucked up, and they did. And they did fuck up. They did doubt me, and that was what was cool. Like I said, I was playing these venues, and it was more like the biggest change was not like, can I play for $30? It was like, put down the red carpet, let this motherfucker walk right through, and people in the crowd being like, yo, I fuck with you. The musicians be like, I fuck with you. Bigger players being like, yo, come do this, come play here, come play at Lenny Kravitz's house, come do this. Well, like all these, like getting the respect I felt like I wanted from the community that I also respect. Like I couldn't give a fuck about the superficial music industry where it's based around like no one writes their own music and it's like a whole heap of people who are just a brand. I wanted to be respected from people who make this shit move underneath. For every crazy artist, there's an incredible band that has to rehearse and slave out and learn the cues and learn this, who doesn't have auto-tune on the guitar. You know what I mean? Who has to learn this shit, who has to be tight.
Yeah.
Those are the people I wanted to get respect from. And that's always been my thing. Like, I read a quote one time and it said, when your desire to be dope is more than your desire to be famous, that's when you change. And I read that like when I was maybe 22, and it changed my whole motive as an artist.
That's a clipping. That's a great.
That's a great. Clip that shit.
That's gonna be clipped right there. I'm just throwing that out there.
Dude, I read that. I remind myself of that all the time.
Yeah.
Because we all fall into those patterns, being like, yo, but like it'd be dope to have this. It'd be dope to be more successful. So I mean, there was parts like I definitely think I could have moved differently when I come off that show. Like, I think I wasn't wise in terms of. I mean, I was young, man. I was like 22. So like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was fresh in LA, didn't understand the whole shark atmosphere that is out here.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted a piece. And it was kind of like, everyone was pulling me in so many different directions. I stayed in the same place. I was like one of those stretchy men, with the different arms and the body stays in the same place, but the arms are all out here. That's what it was like. I had one guy pulling me towards R&B, one guy pulling me towards pop, one guy pulling me towards rock. And I just realized when the dust settled and those motherfuckers didn't care no more, it was like ding. And I was just like, same spot.
Still you, yeah.
I was in the same spot. So I wish I had a bit more conviction in what I was doing at the time. Because that conviction I had walking into the show, that got me contractually free and all that stuff. If I'd held that afterwards, I think a couple of things might have been a bit different. But man, hey, we all learn.
Yeah, we all
learn, bro.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. So then when you came off and you were going through that, like, did you get opportunities to like do the label deal? Like, were there opportunities that you feel like you should have taken? Or
I mean, it was weird. I mean, it was weird, man. I mean, we got a lot of opportunity. I mean, the biggest opportunities that came was I was selling out shows. So like I sold out Peppermint Club, I sold out Hotel Cafe, I sold out Rockwood in New York, I sold out a show in Texas. We had some like really awesome opportunities that I believe were like a great platform for me to take the next step in my career. And I think there was a couple of times where I kind of relied maybe a bit too much on my representation to be like, because they would be like, oh, okay, I'll bring this person, this person, this person. And although people came, like there wasn't the greatest, I think, display. I've always shown myself as a live artist. And the time where I feel like I can get people to believe in what I do is in the live arena. That's my point of difference. That's my USP. And I feel like we didn't get as much opportunities as we could have because I don't feel like we got enough people out to the shows. Because they were sold out from like a patron standpoint. But from industry standpoint, I I always remember being like, damn, I wish there was some labels in the crowd here. And there was a couple, of conversations. I sat with a few of the majors and stuff, but nothing really that was that solid until I kind of started doing my own thing and getting a bit more conviction from my own music and putting that out, all this.
Yeah.
All that.
What's your viewpoint on the industry now? And like, do you feel like let's say the Russ approach where you drop, a single a week for 3 years until you pop, like, is that the route for an up and coming artist, or is it, all right, TV show, or is it label deal? Like,
I think it depends on the genre, really. I think we were having this conversation the other night, right, when we were talking about your stuff. I think with hip hop, I think that there is a lot more opportunity to drop volume.
yeah.
Because I think a lot of the time hip hop's about a feeling. And if you can constantly make someone feel a certain way, there's a lot of impact in that. And I feel like
True.
the environment musically for hip hop, where it's predominantly kind of like beat making and there's opportunity to release beats and this and that, and you can really churn out things fast. I think that's the route. I think with more of like the organic approach, like soul and stuff like that, it's a bit harder because you're trying to really arrange music. You're trying to get like 6 musicians to play this, or you're trying to compose. There's a lot more parts to it. You can't necessarily loop it. Whereas a lot of hip hop tracks, I feel like, the beat is it's more looped.
Yeah.
And that's not me shitting on the genre whatsoever, because I love hip hop and some of my favorite, like I love Andre 3000. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. Very musical, But I feel like yeah, it depends on the genre.
It's a great answer. That makes a lot of sense. Because have you heard that one Uzi song where he goes, go, 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 go? And like the whole song is just go, go, go. Like that's the only sound he makes. And it's like, he's one of the greatest rappers, I would argue, right? And it's like, that's what he's doing. It's like, it's just great beats.
There's like commercial success, and then there's real like musicians, people that like,
Right.
I don't know. So I don't know. I think there's different things.
Yeah, and
he can sell records.
And like I said, we all trying to make money too. Like, I mean, I'm a big believer in crossing over and having the commercial stuff. Like John Mayer is a perfect example. Like he had his real
Legend.
deep cut musical stuff as a beast guitar player, and then he had his more commercial hits like Daughters and Waiting on the World to Change and these great records. So I believe that there's need for both. And I think but this is the thing. I think the industry is changing so much. I think there's something else we talked about the other day. I feel like people indulge in genres as opposed to artists now. We're living people don't really listen to albums as much. It's like singles, and it's not even singles, it's playlists. So it's like you find a playlist which caters to your taste, and then you just run it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, now it's this weird time where it's like, I'm a fan of soul, I'm a fan of alternative R&B, as opposed to being back in the days, I'm a fan of X, Y, and Z artist, I'm a fan of the X, Y, and Z album. And I think that also shifts the way in which we release music now too.
Can I ask you a question about music marketing nowadays? How do you feel about the whole TikTok wave? And people, because I've seen so many artists now come up off the TikToks.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
Look Lover, that
Luck Lover, Coil Ray.
he was all TikTok.
Yeah.
Came up. How do you feel about that? Is that an avenue like you might try like to explore, or is that like something?
yeah, I think in the right sense. I mean, for me, I've had a few discussions with people about how I'd market myself on TikTok. I mean, I don't have a presence on TikTok. I mean, if I was touring and if I was playing regularly again, I definitely would, because for me, whatever I put out has to be a true reflection of who I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I could cut short, like for example, we're playing on Friday, the Peppermint. And
Can we plug that in real quick?
yeah, we're playing Friday at the Peppermint Club.
Yeah.
Pull up.
Club. We're all pull up. Yeah.
Pull up. I feel like, when I'm playing the gig on Friday, I'm bringing a videographer and we'll end up making a lot of reels and stuff out of that. I'm more than happy to distribute that content on platforms that I feel fit. In terms of changing necessarily who I am or whatever it is to kind of cater for it, maybe it's short-sighted. I don't know, because I mean, I know some artists personally who've had incredible come-ups on TikTok. I know artists who've had incredible come-ups off TikTok. I think it's case by case.
It is case by case.
And I
yeah,
definitely think
for sure,
TikTok is
but
currency. I believe it's currency. I think followers in general. I mean, it was Instagram. I mean, Instagram was the currency as well. But then again, I can also be testament to the fact that I had a pop in Instagram when Instagram was the shit, and that didn't necessarily translate. Like, it was good for certain things, like brand deals. I made money from it for sure. I made guap, which sustained me and got me a lot of cool free shit and cool opportunities. But did it was it the thing that turned around? I mean, like at one point I was getting like 500,000 profile views a week, like, which is not much compared to like some of the bigger guys, but for an independent artist with no record deal, with shit moving and touring at the time, that was more than enough for someone to be like, we can sign you off that. Didn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the other side of the coin I see too. So I think it's all, you got to do what you enjoy, right?
Yeah. I gotta ask you, I want to transition a little bit into your like your process as a musician. Huh?
We got 10.
Yes, sir. Cause I've noticed, you know, you don't drink, you don't smoke. Like you don't really do anything that, you know, I think a lot of artists, including myself, like kind of lean on in the studio, especially when you need to kind of be in that creative, free, non-judgmental space. Like, so if it's not weed or drink or whatever, like where do you pull your inspiration from, and why don't you maybe do those things in the studio?
Okay, so being sober, right?
Yeah.
When I was younger, I used to get around and party and have a good time. I did a whole heap of wild shit. I put that stuff down when I was in Dubai, actually, because I don't know, man. I just feel like I didn't bring out the best in who I was. You know, I think we all have tendencies. One thing that I think that one of my biggest strengths and weaknesses is I have addictive personality. That addictive personality has got me to the heights of success that many may not feel, because I was addicted to that process. I was addicted to my fitness journey. I was addicted to all this stuff to make myself be A1. But that addiction also would transcend over to the bad stuff too, like women and alcohol or drugs or whatever. Yeah. So it was never like one drink. It was like, okay, let's just fucking party.
Let's go.
And I realized that that just wasn't helping me. It just wasn't doing anything. I wake up feeling like shit, spend a whole heap of money, make bad decisions. Had a couple of really brushes with the law when I was younger. And I know that I wouldn't have been in those situations if I wasn't intoxicated. So I kind of realized, like, first thing, I love waking up early. I love being healthy. So that really influences that. I also love being clear-minded. I mean, I like being able to make decisions and have conversations with people I'm going to remember. Yeah. And in my opinion, if I don't have the balls to say something when I'm sober, I shouldn't be saying it when I'm drunk. So that's, for me, the whole Dutch courage thing. I kind of get why people do it. It's not my vibe. But each to their own. I don't judge people who do.
Yeah.
Inspiration-wise, I pull my inspiration from life. I feel things very deeply. I always have been a very deep person. And that's more than enough inspiration for me to write. Because even when I used to get charged up and shit when I was younger, I never would bring in the studio. Like, I'd never smoke in the studio. I used to smoke weed a lot, and I never used to do it in the studio. Because it just wasn't it wasn't conducive to my creativity. I like lyricism. I like metaphors. I like cool transitions and chords and musical intellect. And it's kind of like, you know, if someone was in a science lab and they were trying to discover the cure for cancer, they wouldn't be like a bottle of Henny deep and smoke 2 blunts. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, people get it convoluted. I think people see like the music game, and because it's like fun, it's like
an excuse.
It's an excuse
to turn
like,
up.
Yo, this is still work for me. This is my job. Like, I want to turn this into a business, into a career, and take it to that next level. And to a degree, I have been successful in it so far, but nowhere near where I want to be. And that takes discipline. And that's, you know, comes with making choices and sacrifice.
One thing that he said to me this weekend, because we were recording up at Big Bear, and I was like, you know, I started turning up or whatever, and I love to drink, it's fun, but he was like, would you bring a bottle of alcohol to your office?
Yeah,
probably. Nah, but that shit really stuck. And last night I went to the studio and I didn't have, you know, I had a glass of wine at the show.
I respect that.
Yeah, bro. Sure. I didn't get anything done, but still, it was.
But bro, like, I mean, and this is the thing, like, I don't judge either way. I mean, for me, I know a lot of people who feel like they have to tap into that. But one thing that I've always tried to treat it as is, if this is my career, I want to be put my best foot forward, and like, you can't always, when people rely on certain shit to make them creative, it's like, dog, let's say you're doing a show in Saudi, you can't get a blunt. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna fuck up the show. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
you're gonna pull a Steve-O and
the boy's in Riyadh and he's trying to get himself a score and like shit. Like, you know, I mean, this is what I'm saying. It's like, I'd rather be able to put my best foot forward at all times and know that I can bring my best self at all times. And that was my main motivation as well. I don't know. I just wanted to make better decisions and feel better.
Yeah,
and shit like that.
It clouds your decision.
Dude, I flew too close to the sun one too many times. So
yeah.
I think we all have.
Oh my god, yeah. Like 2 days ago.
I think we have to wrap it up, but can we wrap it with like one piece? Everyone can go through one piece of like positive advice, just end it on a good note.
I like that. Ash, you can go first.
Ash,
You guys go first.
Well, no, I want to do this. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Christian. If you were to see your 5-year-old self, right? Ash wasn't here. It was your 12-year-old self.
12-year self, okay.
What are you telling your 12-year-old self? What advice?
12-year-old self. Okay, I have a good one. Make sure you tie your shoes when you're riding a bike that has pedal brakes so you don't crash. Because
That's deep, man.
when I was 12, I rode down a big hill, my shoelaces were untied, and I had pedal brakes, couldn't stop. Slammed in the back of a truck.
Life's never been the same, huh?
Life's never been the same. I'm a little bit dumber now. Next.
Okay. It's not what I was expecting.
Good advice, still.
That's great advice.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. I tried. Divij.
Yeah.
If you could drink another, fuck.
It's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
need to think about how I'm going to answer that one.
Yeah. Divij. Okay. If you could get another tattoo,
Yeah.
what is it? What would it be?
I'll be honest. You kind of inspired me. I really want like a really silly tattoo, maybe like a pineapple or like something that's just like it reminds me to like just be
Just makes you laugh.
Yeah, it's just like I look at it, it's
and
like
be
all
happy.
right, yeah,
It's cool.
maybe a pineapple or like
Alright.
a sweet potato or something.
Ash,
potato.
positive note. What you got for us?
Positive note. Contextualize that for me. Like positive in what kind of sense?
Just
Like, what
just something that we can all, just something that's gonna make you happy, make us happy, make life better.
I got
What's
some. I got a question.
Okay.
What would you say your word of the week would be? Like my word of the week right now is relationship. So like everything I do is centered around the people in my life. So for you this week, when you woke up Monday morning, like what was that like thing what was your intention? I guess is a better way to frame it.
That's really good. It's really funny. At my mum's house in Australia, she's got a heap of cards and she pulls them out every single day and there's a different word on it. This week would be priority, I'd say.
That's good. Yeah.
I've got a show at the end of the week.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose focus on that, but the fact is, which is proven to me in my life before, every show can be a door, which
Absolutely.
can be an incredible opportunity.
That's
So to find the priorities in that, and if anyone out there, get your priorities straight and do the right thing.
Sheesh.
all right. Ash,
True that.
can you plug in your socials real quick?
Yes, sir. So you can follow me at Ash Minor Music. Post all my stuff on there, all my music. We've got a new EP dropping soon with some music that I feel is my best yet, my most true music yet. And I think we're really just getting started on the creative sense. So hopefully you guys can tune in and stay tuned for the journey.
Friday, Peppermint Club. Pull up.
Pull up, Peppermint Club.
there.
Is there a guest list?
For you guys, yeah.
We lit.
Yeah.
We active. I'm gonna be throwing ones in the crowd.
There's some other great artists performing as well. So show love, show support. It's the artists that are on the comp that make this shit tick. So
Facts.
Thank you so much for coming, bro.
Thanks
all
for
the way
having me.
from
My man.
all the way from Australia. Shit.
Well, no, he lives in
LA
Los
now.
Angeles. Yeah. So,
Just
But no.
but not. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. Episode 60's in the books. We got Christian co-host. Follow the homie. Follow Ash. Stay tuned. Actually, I didn't even tell you who our guest is next week. I'm gonna tell you after this.
All right.
Bye, guys.